Welcome to The Sports Answer with Rudy Campos Jr. From the latest NBA news to the gridiron and beyond, we are diving deep into the headlines that matter most to you. Today's show is proudly brought to you by Salem Surround San Antonio, your local experts in digital marketing and audience connection. Before we break the huddle, do me a huge favor. Head over to YouTube and subscribe to The Answer Now TV. Don't miss a single highlight, interview, or heated debate. The clock is ticking, and the game is on. Let's go.
Hey, good morning, Sports Answer fans. Rudy Campos Jr. for the Sports Answer, part of Answer Now TV. Be sure to go to YouTube, hit that subscribe button so you're not left out, and kick that notification button as well so you know when we go live, as we go live every single Sunday morning to kind of recap what's going on in the sports world here at the Salem Surround Studios. Again, it's the Sports Answer on Answer Now TV. Salem Surround, 210-526-3635. And if you want the brand above all, you need that digital marketing, you need all the help for your company you can get, you call Salem Surround today, 210-526-3635. You want to hit up that website, it's going to be salemsurround.com // can't talk this morning, San Antonio. Again, that is Salem Surround, proud sponsors of us here at the Sports Answer. What do we got? We're going to go dancing, obviously. March Madness has been really, really good this past couple of days. We've seen one technically Cinderella team come through in the Texas Longhorns, but don't tell the coach that. Coach Sean Miller doesn't feel like they are a Cinderella team because, in his words, we are the University of Texas and we represent the SEC. Does he have a point there? You guys let me know. Drop those comments on this live feed. Also, we've got NIL questions. Now, we normally talk about NIL a whole lot when it comes to college football. You see the landscape kind of changing, but you see major guys, major players going from, maybe Alabama to Georgia. You see a lot of guys in, Division I, but lower Division I teams like UTSA is a prime example. You see them going from UTSA to a bigger program, University of Washington, University of, California, Southern California, USC. They go somewhere else. So we know it's affected the college football landscape. Has it affected the college basketball landscape in a sense of NIL? Why? 3 games kind of circled this past weekend, well, this past couple of days on March Madness. 2 of them number 1 seeds and 1 of them a number 2 seed. We're going to get into those games because now we're kind of starting to see what a lot of people used to call the mid-majors back in the day. And I know a lot of people don't really like that term anymore, but those mid-major teams are getting better and better. And a lot of it is because some of these higher end recruits, knowing they're not going to get the playing time that they would at a major university, are going to some of these low end Division I schools and making a name for themselves. We'll figure out if that NIL money has anything to do with that. Also, we've got a sports fans question of the week, and it's going to be regarding college basketball. It's kind of crazy to think about it, but college basketball, they only do 2 halves still, where everybody else is on 4 quarters. Does that make a difference? Jalen Waddle moves from the Miami Dolphins to the Denver Broncos. Love that move. We're going to get into that real quick here. Then we've got our NBA talk. NBA MVP race. Is it really a 3-man race? Can we still add a couple more in there before the season winds down? Plus, our Spurs Chisme, as your Spurs are back in the playoffs. They are predicted by a lot of experts to win this NBA title this season. What do you guys think? We're going to get down on Spurs Chisme, but it's March Madness time. Yeah, so how sweet it is for the Texas Longhorns. Sean Miller has guided this team to, well, the Sweet 16. They had the technically upset win over BYU. They basically couldn't control AJ DeBonsa, who's going to probably end up being the number 1 pick this NBA draft. Scored 35 points, but yet the Longhorns were able to maintain BYU, move on to the second round, meet number 3 Gonzaga, and lo and behold, they beat number 3 Gonzaga. They are waiting the winner of Purdue Miami today. to see who they will be facing to have the potential to go into the Elite Eight. Now, is it a crazy run for the Longhorns? Yeah. I would say Texas pretty much, if you had that perfect bracket, Texas is the one team that pretty much threw everything out the window. Now, of course, I took teams like Utah State, High Point in that first round. I had a feeling they were going to win. I did have some losses on my bracket, but I never once gave Texas an opportunity to advance past the first round. I figured BYU had enough firepower and AJ DeBonza, who right on cue was going to dominate Texas. Was I wrong on that? Very much so. Longhorns able to beat BYU, move on to that second round, meet Gonzaga, move on to that Sweet 16. What is it? I mean, you talk about Sean Miller. A lot of people are saying Texas is the Cinderella team. I've even seen people say they have the potential to go all the way. I would say hold on, Texas fans. Hold on. Okay. It gets a lot tougher as we go. If they face a team like Purdue, who's been one of the more dominant teams all season long, that's a true test right there. You get past a Purdue team, saying Purdue gets past Miami, then I can start to believe a little bit more as you go into the Elite Eight. But it gets so tough. Why? Because a lot of teams that have already advanced are higher seeds. We're not seeing a lot of these Cinderella teams getting into that Sweet 16 right now. A lot of the higher seeds are actually moving on. Brackets are kind of staying intact if you have taken a lot of these higher seeds. But Sean Miller's right when he says, yeah, I don't think we ever really want to sign up to be the Cinderella story because we are the University of Texas and we represent the SEC. Can you really say Texas is a Cinderella story? As much money as the Longhorns have? Being an SEC team that plays elite competition for majority of the season? I think Sean's right. It's hard to say that they are a Cinderella team. When you think Cinderella teams, you think of the lower guys. Back in the day, a Butler, Gonzaga from back in the day. You've seen teams like Xavier, a team that Sean Miller coached at one point, have nice little runs. Florida Atlantic. You see a lot of real Cinderella stories. So to consider the Texas Longhorns a Cinderella, I kind of agree with Sean on that. I don't see that. They've had some great games. They didn't even know they were going to be making it to even the first four. The play-in games, basically. They had no idea if their name was going to be called. I get the hype. I do. I'm a Texas guy. I'm rooting. I'm from the state of Texas. I'm rooting for the Longhorns to succeed. But to consider them a Cinderella story, it would have to be more University of Texas, San Antonio than University of Texas. They're getting tremendous value for Matas Bokiatis. He's been playing really good these past couple of games. He's the reason why Texas is advancing. Putting in some good minutes. Maybe at 23 that first game. Against Gonzaga, he ended up with 17. 9 rebounds. Making a big difference. The big man. They're using him. Funny because San Antonio Spurs fans, you can get behind a team that knows how to use a big man. Shout out to Wimby on that one. So, is it a Cinderella story for Texas? Is it about to hit midnight if they play a team like Purdue in the next round? What do you think, Longhorn fans? That's your sports question. How far do you think the Texas Longhorns can go? Me, if I'm doing my early prediction, they play Miami. I think they got a shot against Miami. If they play Purdue, the clock is striking midnight. I don't think they get past Purdue. That's my early take on the Longhorns. But congratulations, Texas. Shining bright in the Lone Star State. Got a question here for you guys out there. Before we ask it, we did get a sports answer question, and this is the sports answer question. So I want to ask you, we're going to answer it here. They basically asked, do you want to keep the two halves in men's NCAA basketball or go to four quarters? Now, the women go to four quarters. Obviously, you see the NBA, you see, high school basketball, everybody, they do four quarters. Women made that change not too long ago to go to four quarters. But the NCAA men's have two halves. It's a make or break situation here. And I love the question. I'm glad it was asked. I love the question because on one end, the two halves, you've got a coach for two halves only. It's a long, drawn out playing performance. Your substitutions they've got to be really key. I think it's tougher to coach in two halves than it is in four quarters. What I do like about the four quarters is you get that break in between. Now, I know you get TV timeouts on two halves. You get, it feels somewhat the same, but it's different. You get a quarter, you relax, you chill, you have a time to regroup. But when you've got two halves, the coaching staff, you are trying to make decisions, changes, adjustments in that half. When a team goes on a run, there's no momentum killer as it is when there's four quarters in a game. I feel when you've got two halves, it makes the game a whole lot more difficult. You can see a team go on a 12-0 run, call a timeout, kind of regroup, maybe give up a basket, and that momentum just still keeps going for that other team. It's harder to control. What do you think? Do you think four quarters should be brought into men's college basketball, or do you like the two halves? That's the sports question. We get the comment, who are you talking to? Talking to sports fans out there. What do you think, Owen GT1? Should men basketball go to four quarters or stay at two halves? That's the question we are asking here. I think, like I said, coaching in the two halves, it's pretty difficult. The adjustments have to be quicker. You have to listen to your coaching staff on the fly. You don't have time to really regroup. Say at the end of the first quarter, you're down 5, you can kind of look at things and assess them. But that's our question to you. The sports answer question was asked at us. We answered it. And I'm going to say this, I got to give the answer. But for me, I think you keep the two halves. I like it. It's quick pace. It's pretty difficult. On a coaching standpoint, it's pretty difficult. When I've coached, I've only coached in middle school, high school games, AAU games. It was all four quarters. Didn't have to do the halves thing. But I look back and I think, okay, trying to coach two halves, I think it's pretty difficult. For the value's sake, I take the two halves. Leave the men at two halves. The four quarters, I get it. Makes a little bit of difference. But I think it handicaps those teams that are going to be considered Cinderella teams in March. For me, let's keep the two halves. One last part of NCAA that we want to get into. We mentioned it at the beginning of the show. Now, we've always talked about NIL money when it comes to college football. It has changed the landscape of college football. You see, and I'm using UTSA as a perfect example. You see them develop players, and then they go and get the bag somewhere else at a bigger college. How does it affect college basketball March Madness in any way? After these past couple of days watching basketball, I'm going to say slightly. It has, but not in a bad way. Why? I mean, we want to run through the bracket. Can easily do that. Easily can run through the bracket. Why? Number one seeded Duke won 71-65 over Siena. Very close battle. It was close for majority of the game. And that's what I'm saying. You saw a mid-major, which I hate using that word, but you saw a lower-end Division I school give a top-seeded Duke a run for their money in the first round. Let's go to number 2 UConn against Furman in that first game. 82-71. Looks like it's 11-point win. These games that these top programs have been playing all year, when they play a team that is a lower end Division I team, you expect a blowout. We haven't seen that in a lot of these tournaments lately. We've seen a lot of these number 2 seeds give a run. We've seen some number 1 seeds as well upset number 16 seeds upset number 1 seeds. This year felt a lot different. I mentioned High Point. I took High Point in the first round. I've taken teams like Utah State, which was a 9 seed. But you look at High Point defeating Wisconsin by 83-82. Has the landscape changed in college basketball when it comes to March Madness because of NIL? Because you may not be able to get the bag and get the playing time at Duke, at UConn. Maybe not even at an Arkansas or a St. John's. We've seen teams, and another one. You look at Michigan and Howard. Yes, it was 101-80. It's a 21-point game. But Howard was playing hard when it came to Michigan. These teams get up for March Madness, but they are getting the players that would normally go to a Kentucky, to a Kansas, maybe not get the minutes there right away, kind of work their way into the rotation. They're getting to shine right away. The NIL effect on March Madness is actually really damn good. I love it. We're going to see more teams who we all considered low-end Division I start challenging a lot of these bigger guys. Offhand, I cannot remember which coach it was, but he did make it clear in an interview and in a press conference when he said, hey, they don't want to schedule us. It would be nice if these teams, these bigger teams, would schedule us to play against them. It's fear. They don't want to deal with you until March. By then, hopefully their team is in sync. Hopefully they are on the right path. So yeah, they don't want to deal with you until March. That's why they don't schedule you. Because the possibility of getting that upset in college basketball is always there. Always there. They don't want to experience March Madness at the beginning of the season. That's the March Madness talk for you guys out there. Before we go to our first and only commercial break, we got a little NFL talk here. One trade that happened, give a little bit of thoughts on that. Then we'll head into commercial break. Jalen Waddle, welcome to Denver. Gets traded from the Miami Dolphins over to the Denver Broncos. Now, the way the trade works is Miami was able to get a first-round pick this year, third-round pick, and a fourth-round pick in exchange for Jalen Waddle and the 2026 fourth-round pick. I love it. I mean, you're talking about the Denver Broncos who were a Bo Nix injury away from potentially reaching the Super Bowl. And yeah, I think they would have I really think they would have been able to give Seattle a run for their money in the Super Bowl. Now adding Jalen Waddle as a deep threat, downfield type of guy for Denver. A+ on the move. But I do put a little asterisk on that A+, only because Good God, the market is going to be huge for wide receivers because if a player like Jalen Waddle gets you 3 draft picks in this draft, can you imagine the asking price for guys such as maybe a Justin Jefferson or even a George Pickens who had a way better season than Jalen Waddle? If the Cowboys were able to move on George Pickens, that's going to be a major asking price. I like when Miami got a return. They got a good return in. Miami's in a rebuild, so they're going to use all the draft picks they can. But to get 3 draft picks in this draft for Jalen Waddle, one being a number 1, can only say, hey, any wide receiver on the move from here on out, it's going to cost you. It's going to cost you a lot more than what they're paying for Jalen Waddle. Good move for Denver. Good move for the Miami Dolphins. A lot of people didn't like it, but you're in a rebuild. You're going to trade away your best players, or you're going to release them like they did to Tua. You're going to trade them away because you need to get a lot of assets and a lot of draft assets. Good move by both teams. We'll see what happens. But I do like the move more for Denver. Bo Nix, Sean Payton. They still have Cortland Sutton. Now you add another legit wide receiver, a Jalen Waddle. Could Denver be the favorites heading into next season? Sports Answer says yes to that question. I think Denver will be one, if not the absolute favorite, when it comes to the NFL and the AFC conference next season. We're going to go to our first and only commercial break. I appreciate everybody that joins us here on the Sports Answer. Be sure to go to Answer Now TV, hit that subscribe button so you catch us every single Sunday. And again, we're going to be having some live shows coming to you on Friday for your drive home. It's going to be about 5:15 or so for the drive home. We're going to have some Friday afternoon talk for you guys out there. But again, we always do come to you Sunday morning here on the Sports Answer. Answer Now TV, Salem Surround, 210-526-3635, salemsurround.com/San Antonio for your brand, your digital marketing, everything you need. Contact them today. It's Rudy Campos for the Sports Answer. When we get back, NBA talk and your Spurs Chisme. We'll be back in a second.
You've been watching The Sports Answer, brought to you by Salem Surround. Salem Surround is proud to be San Antonio's premier digital marketing agency, offering a wide array of services like digital audio, email marketing, online reputation management, SEO, social marketing, and more. Visit salemsurround.com, San Antonio, and stay in the game.
Welcome back to the Sports Answer. Salem Surround, 210-526-3635. Contact the name for your digital marketing needs. You are at the Salem Surround Studios, the Sports Answer, Answer Now TV on YouTube. Hit that subscribe button. Let's get into our NBA talk. And next week, and maybe this week, we're going to cover who your all-NBA team is in your opinion. But right now, the MVP race, is it down to 3 players? Are we leaving somebody out? Personally, this is my ranking. I've got Shea, Victor, Luka just ahead of Jokic, and I am stabbing myself through the heart when I say that, because I think Nikola Jokic, again, deserves a lot more credit and a lot more votes for NBA MVP this season, because again, another season, a 7-footer, he is putting up ungodly numbers, averaging a triple-double again for a season. And I know what it comes down to, record. But then you've got to throw a player like Jaylen Brown in there. Cade Cunningham was probably the MVP for a good part of the season with Detroit's run. But now that he is out for indefinite amount of time due to the collapsed lung, he's not going to be eligible for it. Even if he was, he's not going to get it. Who are your MVP candidates? Obviously, you've got the best team in the league in Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and the Oklahoma City Thunder. He's going to get the nod. But do you really look at that as saying, well, one of the leading scorers of the league, one of the best scorers of the league, Best team in the league, check. He checks a lot of boxes. He's got Chet. He's got Jalen Williams. He's got a squad, the same squad from last year. Trying to go for a back-to-back NBA title run. Everything checks out. Yeah, I guess SGA is number one. He's probably the most dominant player. Ooh, can we go that route? He scores in bunches. Does he make a lot of difference on the other side of the court? That's where we need to pause it. An MVP is the most valuable player. The one line that everybody crosses is it the most valuable player in the league, which technically that's the MVP, or the most valuable player on your team. Now, this is where Spurs fans are probably going to kick me and everybody else. The Thunder struggled pre-Jared McCain without SGA. With Jared McCain, the Thunder, they kind of roll stuff. Without Victor in the lineup, the Spurs kind of kept the momentum going. I'm not talking bad on it, so don't come after me on that. What I'm saying is that more valuable player on a team, SGA. But most valuable player in the league right now, for me, it's Victor. I know I've never really called Victor generational, and I'm kind of peeking my head out of that little hole and seeing, okay, is he really generational? I'm looking now. I'm taking a look. He does things that we haven't seen from a guy 7'4". We've seen 7-footers do what he does, but not 7'4" guys. But when you look at both sides of the court, a difference maker, a guy who could potentially win MVP, Defensive Player of the Year, and if they make it back to the NBA championship, potential NBA Finals MVP. If we're talking about the best two-way player in the game, it's Victor Wembanyama. He's the MVP right now when it comes to that. You see Luka Doncic. I don't buy the Luka hype. He's putting up, he's putting MVP numbers. But I have him kind of like that 3A, maybe 3B. I could put Joker. I could make a massive case for Joker to be in that third slot. I mean, the numbers that he's putting up are great. You can't blame Joker for an Aaron Gordon injury. And even Joker's been out a good part of the season. Denver has struggled because they haven't had their full roster the entire season. When healthy, Denver's one of the most deep teams in the league. So we can't blame record on this. And I think that's where it comes down to when it comes to Victor and Shea. It's going to come down to record. Will the Spurs have to overcome Oklahoma City in order for Wemby to be named the NBA's MVP? That is the one factor that I think has to happen. I mentioned it on Spurs in Focus with Jeff Garcia, and I think he agreed with me. He did agree with me. He said, yes, the San Antonio Spurs have to be the number one seed in order for Victor to win the MVP title outright. He's changed the dynamic of San Antonio. And yes, a lot of it has to do with the coaching. A lot of it has to do with the players that they put around him. But ultimately, when you talk about the most valuable player in the league, for me, it's always been the best dominant player. And I even look at it as the biggest two-way player who's dominant on both sides of the floor. Shea cannot check that other side of the box. Luka doesn't play defense. Joker is not a defensive player. Most people can say Jaylen Brown. I put Kawhi Leonard over Jaylen Brown. You're not quite there, Jaylen. But when it comes to both sides of the court, it's always been Kawhi Leonard, who's not an MVP candidate this year, and Victor Wembanyama, who is. Sadly, we're going to have to allow record to dictate what happens in this NBA season. I do pick Shea to win the MVP because of record, but my heart definitely sits in San Antonio. And even with me taking off the Spurs fandom cap, stats are stats, records are records, difference makers are difference makers. Victor Wembanyama should be your NBA MVP at the end of the season. Spurs Chisme is up next.
So, like, I hear about the Spurs this y Spurs that, y como que esto y esta, pero I never hear about the real Spurs Chisme. Dime, por favor.
All right, your Spurs Chisme before we go here is the Spurs, your San Antonio Spurs are back in the playoffs. Yeah, you know, it didn't look too promising when they drafted Wemby. They came back with 22 wins his rookie season. You figure the health issues, the little by little climb up the hill. What were the differences? De'Aaron Fox was that with that trade that they made with Sacramento, massive difference. The drafting of Dylan Harper, huge. Stephon Castle being who he is, that was the icing on the cake. You built a team around Victor and you put a coaching staff around Victor. And guess what? You are back in the playoffs. Let's remember, Sports Answer fans, beginning of the season, I said, hey, 44 wins. They're going to be a 6th seed, 5th seed at best. So I had them in the playoffs, just not a 2nd seed. Did not have them as a 2nd seed right now. Spurs fans are rejoicing. Everything is clicking. You've got NBA expert media saying, hey, I think legitimately the San Antonio Spurs can win the NBA title this season. I've always pointed to the fact of, well, we've got to see what they do in the playoffs. I still feel that way. I'm not calling it inexperience. I'm calling it getting your feet wet. What I do hope is that you don't see the Spurs dip their toes in the water when it comes to the playoffs. Dive in head first into the playoffs. The Spurs are one of the most dominant teams. When they are healthy completely, they are unbeatable. And no, I'm not talking them up because, again, the Spurs fandom hat is on. I've taken my Spurs fandom hat every single time we do this show. You always call it like you see it. They've proven me wrong this season by getting way more wins than 44. They are a solidified 2nd seed. They are challenging Oklahoma City and are the only team to challenge Oklahoma City consistently this year. They play them absolutely perfectly. Why not? Can they bring number 6, the race for Sace in San Antonio? Is it right to say I don't have, like, I can't get excited just yet? What is the minimum? Get past the first round, get to the second round. Is it minimum Western Conference Finals or bust? Like in Spurs in Focus that we talked about? What do you think? Do you think the Spurs can bring in that 6th title this year? Are they on a path, a journey to make it happen? Let me share something that I see when I watch the Spurs team and the rest of the NBA. Keep this in mind as you continue to watch this NBA season. The Spurs team is the most calm, collective team in the league right now. They have been this season. A team that has not lost more than 2 games in a row all season. When they lose, They lose. They don't dwell on the loss. They don't complain about why they lost. They take responsibility. They accept, hey, we didn't play good. Hey, we lost the game at the end because of this. You can't coach heart. You can only coach. You can only coach and develop the players, but you cannot coach heart. You cannot instill the confidence that they have. This team is confident. I think their biggest loss was against Minnesota when they blew a lead. To me, that was the biggest loss in the season, and that was them flipping the switch. So again, this team is calm. It's cool. It's George Gervin type of ice in their veins. That's the difference between this Spurs team and everybody else in the league this season. It reminds me of that team that lost in the finals against the Miami Heat. Came back, took care of business, didn't get rattled, and just got it done. The perfect coaching staff, coaching the most complete team in the NBA. But keep your eye on the rest of the league as we head into the playoffs. Notice what I'm saying. Victor and the crew, they're just playing ball. They're having fun. They're getting it done night in and night out. And when they lose, look at the demeanor. They understand you're not a perfect team. Nobody is. And what they get out of these losses is there's more work that needs to be done. That's the difference between this Spurs team and everybody else in the league. They win, they have fun. They lose, they smile. They understand why they've lost. And they come back out and get it done the next game. A young team, yes. But boy, they've grown up a lot. And not even a full season of Spurs basketball with this collective group. Going out on a limb here. I do fear a couple of teams, especially in that first round. If they stay at number 2, you got teams like the Clippers who have played them very, very tough. In fact, the Clippers have owned the Spurs team for the past 5 years. They played them tough without Kawhi Leonard this past week. I don't fear Phoenix as much as I did because Phoenix did have their number. But then if the Spurs get the number 1 seed, you have the potential of playing Minnesota in that second round. A team that is very capable of upsetting San Antonio. Spurs fans, do you want to keep that second seed where it seems maybe a little bit less challenging? Or do you want that number 1 seed? Or does it even matter? The sports answer says, you know what? I like the Spurs' chances this year to win number 6. When they get to the finals, and if they get to the finals, I do think the New York Knicks would give them a hard time. The Boston Celtics may give them a hard time. You've seen they've been able to handle Detroit. 2 teams in the East I feel are very difficult for San Antonio. But just like all the doubters and all the people that said, no, they're still a couple of years away, they will prove everybody wrong. And that includes myself. That is the sports answer for today. Be sure to subscribe, Answer Now TV on YouTube. Hit the notification button so that way you do get notified when we are, when we're live. So Again, Sports Answer Now, Answer Now TV, Salem Surround, 210-526-3635. Go to salemsurround.com/San Antonio. You got the sports questions. We've got the sports answer. Rudy Campos Jr. Until we see you guys later on during the week. Again, Fridays are going to be we're going to be with you guys on the drive home. So be sure to hit that notification button once you subscribe so you are not left out when we go live. Shout out to everybody else that is a part of the Sports Answer. We'll see you guys next week.
You've been watching the Sports Answer, brought to you by Salem Surround. Salem Surround is proud to be San Antonio's premier digital marketing agency, offering a wide array of services like digital audio, email marketing, online reputation management, SEO, social marketing, and more. Visit salemsurround.com, San Antonio, and stay in the game.